Hello, and I'm Kevin from Redefine Entertainment, and today we're going to be looking at how you can turn this into this. Let's go. Okay, so how exactly do we get from this little okay thing that's like a handout that you get for free from somewhere from participating in something to this? Well, all we really need from this is just the circuit board, because then this will have our Bluetooth in it, an amplifier and everything. And then the rest of this comes from an old speaker, like this one. We won't actually be using this one, because this one sounds quite awful and it's very old. But then we also just had some wood and some batteries. Where did we get the batteries from? Well, these things. This is just a simple, phone recharger, and basically inside is one big cell that's a lot bigger, that at least is what in this. This says it only has a 350 milliamp hour battery inside, whereas this says it has a 2600 milliamp hour battery inside. As you can see, that's a lot bigger, and we'll take this apart and I'll show you the battery inside. I'm actually not going to use the battery that's inside this. Instead, I actually have an entire box of batteries here. You can see I have many of those cells, along with some other cells from old laptops and phones and stuff like that. So we actually might be using these today. And some other things we'll need are my screwdriver set to take this apart. So let's first take a look at that. Set this back here and open this up. So on the inside of this is very simple. It just has a circuit board, battery, and a speaker. Everything else is integrated these days, so it doesn't need any of those other things. So all we have to do is unscrew the screws, pop the top on this, and once we do that, we will be revealed with just that, and here's a speaker. This one's actually pretty good for being in this tiny little thing. We can see on the back that it says it is a 4 ohm 3 watt speaker, so it's not that great, but actually it's as I said, pretty good for being in one of these tiny things. And on this we just pop the bottom off, and here's the little circuit board on the bottom. There's a few things I want to point out. So as we can see, here we've got the antenna line there. That's for the Bluetooth. And these two bigger wires come from the battery, and these two smaller wires come from the speaker. So we're going to take this board out, and we're going to have a look at the battery underneath. So popping out this one last screw that holds in the circuit board, placing that over there in the tray, and prying up gently and carefully underneath, because all this is still could be active components because of the batteries not detached yet. But we can see there's a tiny little battery inside, and as we can see, these two cells are going to last us a lot longer. So we just need to look and make sure that we have everything right. That the labeling on the circuit board actually does say positive and negative for the battery terminals, as well as for the speaker. So that's good. We can just unsolder those and don't have to worry about labeling or remembering where things are. But it's always still good in case you want to get this back together if you want to take pictures and stuff. But this should be fairly simple. The only thing that I don't like about this speaker is that when you actually there's two things. One is that when you turn it on, you get that tone. And two is that there's only one port on here. It's the USB port. They actually have it come with a special cable which you plug into the USB port, the micro USB port, by the way, and then the other end is your headphone jack. So you only have that long of a cable unless you get an extender on this, which kind of sucks. But then again, This normally being super portable, it has Bluetooth built in that works well enough. You know, you shouldn't need it that often. But if you do, that's just one thing to note for this particular speaker. But again, that'll range for anything else that you have that is specific to you. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take our got another bin here with a bunch of wires in, and that's what'll happen is that we'll desolder this, put this on, and well, I don't need to do that for this because I don't need a second one. We'll just leave that off to the side. And we're going to talk about this for a bit. As you can see, we actually chose some wood here that was originally like painted red on, and then we cut out a top, drilled a hole into it, and then went around the edge of the circle when we put the speaker on, so that way there was enough of a lip to screw the speaker still into, but the speaker is exposed, so you can still poke it and get holes through, so you do got to be careful of that if you don't put any grill over it. But I especially like this look. And originally we put in this board back here to mount a actual big amplifier on, but you know, as all of my other recycled components I get, that failed and I can't get it to work. So that's when this actually came in as plan B. That this little board actually has enough to power this big speaker. Your board may not, because you know they're cheap and sucky. So you may need to get an amplifier and then just use it basically for a Bluetooth. But as you can see, simply inside I have the other charging cable stored down here, but the wires from the speaker just go up and are soldered onto this little board here. I put that cell in here just like we have here. It's just two more of these batteries that I have hooked in parallel. That's another good important thing to make note of, is that these are in parallel, so that way they give the same 3.7-ish volts, but just a lot more capacity. Each of these should have around 2,000. They may have more or less. I don't know the exact because they've also been used, so their capacity is probably diminished some. But this should maybe give us around 4,000 milliamp hours, which is very good for just a simple speaker like this. Actually, since I made this, I've only charged up once, and I didn't even need to charge it up then. I just wanted to charge it up just in case, because it was going to be a long day, but it still didn't die after many, many hours of use. So you can see I've got the battery up there, and then just, you know, the two wires running to this board again. And I actually took that little screw that I took out that mounts it in here and put it into there. So it's overall relatively simple project, you know, cut out some sides, glue and tack and screw it together, and you've got yourself a nice little speaker. So I hope that you have learned something from this, and I'm going to show you testing it out. So here we've got a computer here, and we are going to turn this on. Again, there's that tone that I complained of, but we'll get past that, and we will plug it in. There's it pairing with Bluetooth, but we're not having Bluetooth on this, and I plugged in the wrong one. That's another thing, the cables look almost exact the same, they just like put a different end on. So we'll plug this in here, and no, I do not believe that I can just put audio straight through USB. That doesn't work with this. So now we're going to play that music that you hear at the intro and the outro right now. Let's turn it up a little bit. I mean, it's fairly okay for what it is. It's, you know, recycled components out of this little speaker that I got. It does have little dings like that every time it disconnects and reconnects, so let's put this back together, and let's just play out of it and see how it sounds comparative. funny. Do you hear that? I don't know if you guys can hear that as much, but when I put the speaker on the box here, it actually reverberates a little bit in the box. So that helps a little bit, but as you can see, it gets nowhere near as loud, doesn't have the clarity. So it's actually quite a big improvement to get to this. So I hope you guys like this little project, and I hope you'll join us for another video. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to follow us on social media and check out our website. The link's in the description below. And if you liked, please hit that button. If you disliked, you know where that button is. And be sure to get subscribed.